When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode.
Yeah, the audience is probably wondering, are you a global empire now? Are you guys kind of global with all your different companies? I mean, what does that look like for your organization now?
So if you think of our organization of businesses, Mark, we've got startups that really start up in a marketplace. Okay. Usually, so Rabine Paving started up as a local little company with $2,000 and a few $100,000 in revenues the first year, right? Today, when we start a business, we start with an investment of a few $1 million, and they probably get to $5 to $10 million in revenues the first year when we start a business. We have one business that's brand new this year that'll do 20 to 30 million in revenues in its first year. And it'll be an investment of a couple million to get it started. But it's basically serving a need that we know is there because our customers are telling us it's there. And we have a business that's differentiated so strong from the industry that it's going to grow fast. And so it's basically roller compacted concrete business is an industry that's new to America. And we're leading that industry with a company we have called Rabine Compacted Concrete, which is RCC, the same abbreviation as roller compacted concrete. But the concrete is pavement that we believe will last hundreds of years, not dozens of years, like good pavements usually last. Wow. Hundreds of years. And so it's not only will it last longer, it reaches higher PSIs of 7 to 10,000 pounds. So it's a great product anyway that we offer to our customers across the country now. So we have some businesses start regionally and some are still regional. And then we have, once they're successful and we understand how to duplicate the business, we have the processes in place, we have the people in place, we have the customers in place. Then we have the ability to go to our customers nationally and say, okay, we're ready to serve you, big retailer, big distribution center owner. We have the ability to serve you now in every state in the country. And here's how we're going to do that. And here's how we're going to differentiate and serve you. So when we have a product that we know is ready, then we go nationally with that product. Now we have one company that's a global company. That's the last company I told you about, the technology company. It's called Site Technology. We assess the condition of pavements and roofs and facades super fast with drone pilots that fly them from everywhere in the world. So that business is 90% America, but 10% last year in other countries, about 18 other countries, and it's growing all over the world now. And so that's a global company, but otherwise, most of our businesses, we focus on American business because most of our customers are here, and we kind of like that. I'm not sure where I'm at on doing work in other parts of the world. We're doing it now. I'm fine to pull out of it pretty fast if I don't think it makes sense. But so far, it's worked out well.
Everybody's talking about recession. The sky is falling right now, and you're hearing a lot. I watch CNBC quite a bit just to get a pulse on what's going on economically globally because of my security company and who we service. What is your advice to those builders out there and people going, okay, should I make a move? Should I hold tight, wait for the interest rates to drop? How I think Warren Buffett said, real estate is the number one generator of economy in the U.S. I think that's what he said. Maybe misspoken. That's what I thought I heard him say. What's your thoughts on the economy now? And are you excited? Are you anticipating growth? What's going on? What you can see at 40,000 feet?
I'm excited about the growth in our country, America, as long as we get through what we have today. So in my opinion, we have a leader that's really created this inflationary environment we have right now. I mean, inflation happens, and we realize that, but the inflation at the rate we have is due to a lot of stupid decisions that this administration, the Biden administration's had, in my opinion. Right? There's no reason that we cut off our own pipelines. There's no reason that we don't produce more oil, more natural gas than anybody else in the world. Because guess what? I've read this and I've seen this multiple times. If you look at a chart of the cleanest air and cleanest water of the top 30 energy producing countries in the world, okay, America's number one by far. India, China, and Russia are the 1, 2, and 3 worst in the world. Okay, we're number one best out of the top 30. So why is it that we aren't producing more? Why is it that we're not buying local? I mean, our inflation would go down. We'd have we'd pull our economy into play pretty fast. So again, I'm very optimistic that this administration can't win again. You like or love or not like Trump and his administration, but guess what? We have the best economy in a long time. There's things he did that I wasn't crazy about, but guess what? The economy-wise was great when Trump was our president. It'll be great again, in my opinion. If he doesn't win and Biden wins, I'm worried. I'm very worried because I don't think I don't think the Biden administration really cares. I had dinner with Newt Gingrich last week, and my fiance asked him, "Do you think it's just ignorance, or why is he making these terrible moves, and why is he hurting our economy so much?" And he goes, "It's not ignorance." He goes, "I've known this guy for 30, 40 years." He goes, "This is purposeful. He purposefully does not love our country." And so I'm very optimistic about America. I'm very pessimistic about the leadership we have in place today. I'm very optimistic that America is going to vote, and they're not going to be able to steal enough, in my opinion, to keep Trump out of the White House. But I would say, but I would also say, when it comes to interest rates, if you look at interest rates in history, interest rates, this 7% that it's at today, that's pretty good. I mean, up until 10 years ago, 10%. I think it was 10 years ago. Back 100 years, 10% was the average.
Okay,
right. So 7% would be looked at as 30% less than the average. Yeah. That's pretty good. But we, in my opinion, we've pushed interest rates down, to a level that's unattainable. That 3% and 3.5%. I don't think we ever see that again. But is 7% terrible? I don't think so. But 4%, 5%, 6% would be good. I think the Trump administration will try to get the economy in shape to be able to get back there. But 7% is not bad, in my opinion. If it stayed there. We should all understand what fiscal responsibility means. And when you have interest to pay, hopefully you pay things off faster. And you don't roll your debt up to your ears, 95 or 100% debt on residence and property you own or equipment you own. Pay things off. That's a good thing.
Yeah, because I know we just spent how many trillions of dollars in aid packages overseas, and that was like there's a feud going on in the House and Senate there in D.C. over that. And I'm like, I think 33 trillion, and that's a number I can remember anyway. But that's an IOU of debt. Okay,
it's 33 trillion 820 billion. Okay, and it's here's what I tell. There's a thing I just got this in the mail yesterday from a friend of mine, Steve Moore. Was an advisor. He was an economic advisor to Donald Trump. Him and Art Laffer were also economic advisors to Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher when she turned around Great Britain. These are smart people. So he's got this thing called Committee to Unleash Prosperity. It's an organization I sit on the board of. He sent out this little electric meter that shows the debt on a second by second basis. And our debt's going up $1 million every 49 seconds. $1 million every 49 seconds. Okay. So it's a clicker that shows the debt going up. And so Steve's goal is to convince Donald Trump when he gets in to stop adding debt, right? To start paying debt, actually paying it down. And so there'll be a lot of cuts when that happens. And Donald Trump will be in the last 4 years he'll ever have. So he'll have the ability to actually cut costs in government like Ronald Reagan did it, and actually like Bill Clinton did, okay, a Democrat. So again, I'm optimistic that we can turn our country around. And the good thing is, Mark, is when you look at the world, as bad as our debt is, it's terrible, okay? But it's better. It's better than most of the rest of the world. So it's kind of crazy, right? That we're printing money like we are, but the rest of the world is not in that much better spot.
If I'm a listener, say I'm a millennial listening to this thing, and what's wrong with Biden? But here's what I want the audience to know: you're a businessman. Gary's a businessman. He runs I don't know what your net worth is, Gary. I don't know what the net worth of your company.
So our business will do somewhere between 350 and 400 million of revenues this year.
Folks, he's a business expert. He knows business. And he's not a politician. He's a businessman. And so if I'm a millennial going, okay, what's the big deal about the debt? Who cares? And that's what the college kids are probably listening to this podcast going, okay, Trump's an idiot. And they're thinking, well, when he's whatever he does, he's awful because they're getting their information from whatever. But why is debt such a huge deal? Especially 33 trillion.
Yeah. So basically, our taxes are going to be based on our debt, right? The taxes we pay are based on our debt, and so right now our taxes are now approaching higher than the average of all socialist countries in the world. So when Trump was in office, we were dropping our debt, or not? No, we weren't dropping our debt. Actually, we were supposed to be, but because of the COVID stuff, he ended up pumping it up, and that's an issue I had with him then. But anyway, bottom line is, when debt goes up, our taxes have to go up to recover that. And so our kids' future, there's no way they're going to have a tax, be taxed as low as we've been taxed in the past. And so, with the higher debt is more responsibility to our future generations, no matter what. And so high taxes are going to be the future, higher than we see today. And today we're approaching, we're higher than the average socialist country now. Where Biden wants to take us will be higher than any socialist or communist country in the world, basically. Where Biden wants to take us, he wants to double up estate tax. He's got all kinds of taxes he's looking at putting on in this next term. He's talking about how he wins. I could never imagine him winning, but if he goes where he wants us to go, you'll be working for the state and the federal government, and not for yourself, for your family in the future. So. I don't know if that explains it, but
for example, you go to the gas station. I remember back in the 80s, gas was $1 a gallon. Now we're looking at $3 to $5, depending on what part of the country you're in, because you get the summer blend up to $7 to $8 in California. But people say, I can't make it. People are getting crushed because the dollar doesn't mean anything. The dollar has almost no value because of that $33 trillion in debt. Is that pretty accurate, Gary?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to continue to see this, right? Taxes come in many ways. When businesses are taxed more, they have to pass that tax on. They have to pass that cost on, right? So government will say, just tax the rich guy and tax and the rich guy, a small business is considered a rich guy if they're in the top 5% of the country. All right, just tax the small business guy, the rich guy. Well, guess what? That guy, to stay alive, stay in business, a normal business makes 5 to 10% net profit, right? So they can't stomach an extra 4 or 5% or 10% because they have to pass it on. So who ends up paying?
The consumer,
right? The small guy, the consumer, the young couple that's trying to buy their first house. And one indicator I've been watching also is the indicator of first home buyers. So first home buyers have dropped so crazy in the last 3 years. It's like almost nothing as far as first home buyers buying homes. It's investors buying homes, and it's multiple home buyers. It's people like me buying a house their second, third time, whatever. But it's a sad thing when we don't see first home buying as even a part of the market now. Okay, what does that mean? That means more young people can't afford to buy a home like I did. I mean, I was blessed. I was able to figure out how to buy a home. I was making barely any money. I bought a home when I was 21 years old, and it was an old wrecked house. But I bought my first house at 21. Today, a kid can't do that, making similar to what I make. Even if you put inflation on what I made about 25 or 30 grand a year in 1981. And I take this back. This is 84, and was able to buy a $70,000 house with a lot of debt at 18% at that time. It went down shortly after that, but it was 18% back then. Anyway, bottom line is, when you say what is that worth today, a kid can make 100 grand a year, can't afford to buy that same type of house today because they're keeping a lot less. And so it's a sad thing when first home buyers are going down, not up, right? So how does that change? It changes by controlling inflation, making America's economy as strong as it can be, bringing taxes down, not up, and we'll get back to it. But we can't do it with somebody that doesn't get it, or purposefully is running it.
A big conception I hear too from the kids coming in the new generation that, hey, we got to tax the rich, we got to uber tax them to help pay for these the debt. Now, is that a true theory of, people want to go fascism? You hear the word fascism. Like, what does fascism mean?
Yeah. So you can only tax the rich so long. They're smart enough to go where their money is treated better, right? So in the 70s, when Carter thought the same thing and taxes were 80% of whatever a rich person made, what did they do? They invested elsewhere. They went other places. So the money goes away. Okay, so right now, the top 1% pays about 75% of all the taxes. That's already taxing the rich, and that's kind of okay. We're still keeping them here, right? But you start if the top 1% is paying 90%, pretty soon they're not investing in America anymore. They're not investing in the states that overtax, and that's already happening, right? In my state of Illinois, we're losing billions of dollars a year in money leaving our state. And that's billions of dollars a year that it's not taxed anymore in the state. So these crazy people are overtaxing to a point where they're losing money annually. They're overtaxing. The people that are stuck in Illinois are paying more tax. They're also ruining the values of everything that's taxed. So when I say this, Mark, think about a business that's overtaxed. They ruin the value of that business. Nobody wants to buy that business when that person wants to retire. Okay. If it's a building, I have a building. Here's an example. I have a building in Schaumburg, Illinois, in Cook County. The building would cost $40 million to build today. Okay. The taxes on my building were $1 million a year. Okay. Guess what? The building is worth $1.7 million because the taxes are so high. The building value is down to $1.7 million. I know this because I'm selling it next month. I got a buyer for it. The building should be, in any good economy, the building be worth what it costs to build it, $40 million. Instead, it's worth $1.7 million. Wow. What's that? That's like, what's that? 4%? Somewhere around, let's say, a little over 4% of the value of the building is what I'm selling it for. Okay, a value of what should be the building. Why? Because normal taxes on a building that size are 1 or 2% of the value per year. Okay, that one's taxed at 50, 60% of the value. So that doesn't work. So what happens? I sell the building, somebody knocks it down, resells the lot or keeps the lot maybe, but those businesses and those jobs all go by the wayside.
Bye-bye. There's no work. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your car note.
So you're gonna ask the country of France what happened when they overtaxed, right? All real businesses left France. And they're all over the country. And now they've had leaders to try to get business back, but nobody trusts the country to go back there anymore. So when you lose business, you lose jobs. So taxing the rich is already happening. It's happened for decades. Okay, so and that works to a certain point. When the rich are paying 70%, the top 1% is paying 70%. The top 5%, I think, pays like 85% or something like that. So we're already doing that. But you can only do it so much before they're gone.
I see a new thing with I don't know where it's coming from, but anti-capitalism. I never heard this before. And I'm like, what are they chanting? Anti-capitalism. I'm like, capitalism, let's create money, creates wealth. Where's this theory coming from? It can't be from the MBA course at the University at Yale. I mean, this thought process just blows my mind. Being a Marine Corps veteran, I'm like, capitalism is the core of our country values, is creating money and dispersing, from the wealth creates the breadcrumbs of the middle class. And I just don't get this thought process. Do you?
So I like to call it free markets, right? Free enterprise, free markets. It sounds better, but it's the same thing, right? So capitalism. If you think about the turn of the century in 1900, turn of the century from the 1800s to 1900s. That when you read that book I told you about, The Laws of Success, it talks about these people that started with nothing that became the richest people in the world. All right, by what they do, they solve problems, and they were innovators that created solutions, right? That changed the world, right? When you think about the rail, when you think about cars, when we think about so many things, the printing press, okay, all right, changed the world because they were incentivized to do that through the free market system. So when you look at the last 100 years, America has dominated when it comes to patents and innovation and changing the world. When it comes to technology, dominated. Okay, why do we dominate? We dominate because we have this thing called free enterprise, the capitalist system. Now, the problem with capitalism that people talk negatively about is when capitalism becomes crony capitalism, and big corporate America or big corporate anywhere, right, has monopolies that are paid for and bought. So they're protected monopolies because they're paying politicians, right, to rewrite laws to allow them to be monopolies. I mean, that's the only problem I see is when business is in bed with crooked politicians, and they're protected And that's crony capitalism. And I do have a problem with that, right? But when business grows because of innovation and serving a big market, I think it's a blessing. It's an amazing thing. When you think of the tools we use today to do things so much faster, I mean, I applaud these people that have created these tools, like this iPhone that I'm talking to you on, right? I applaud them. I mean, I don't necessarily like the person, maybe even that's behind it. In some cases, I don't align with them in many things. But you know what? They made a product that's serving the world in a better way, and that's a good thing. So I think that capitalism could be construed as bad if it's bought crony capitalism, but I think capitalism, when you think of 99% of capitalism, is small business people busting their butt trying to solve problems for customers, and when they solve those problems, they're solving problems of the world, and they're innovative. The innovation, the patents, all these things happen. So, our businesses totally grow 100% because we're innovating, we're serving our customers, and that's the type of capitalism we should be proud of. But again, we better hold on to this thing called capitalism, because the rest of the world has not had this blessing. But if we continue to tax and we can tax and spend, and we continue to do things that this administration is doing, this thing called free markets and free enterprise and freedom will be lost.
There's a thing you just addressed, Gary, the power of the iPhone. Most of the business people out there running in those circles, they all have iPhones, and they're conducting the business from their iPhone. It's just how one piece of equipment technology has changed the scope and the strategy and the effectiveness of the business owner. It's just in the palm of your hand.
100%. I mean, and we should applaud these things and not demonize them. Applaud these businesses that are able to do this, right? Because think about the time, energy, and money we save because of this iPhone, right? I mean, I'm telling you, as you know, it's immense. But think about this artificial intelligence and machine learning. If I didn't embrace this, I mean, I'd be following somebody else in my industry. Instead, we're leading our industry by giving our customers better information 50 times faster than we could 5 years ago. Okay. And not subjective information, but objective information. So what did that do? That drove the price of consulting down to our customers for our industry. And now we have a product that serves them way faster for about 10% of the price it used to cost them. And this is an industry that was kind of non-existent before, Mark. So it's not like, we're taking jobs. No, we're creating jobs, because we're engineers and now consultants to our customers that they didn't have before.
Wow.
Or 3D printing. Who would think, when 3D printing came out, I was traveling the world to Israel and all over the world trying to find out, how do I use this in my business? And that was early 2000s. And in 2002, 3, 4, we worked with equipment companies to maximize 3D printing of concrete and asphalt. I mean, today we do concrete paving with 3D printing. That's amazing. I mean, it's something I would have never envisioned. But if we didn't have smart people that developed this technology that we could follow, we sure wouldn't have developed it. So we need to embrace these people and understand it until they go rogue and they're buying out politicians to build regulation that kills small business. I love them.
Exactly. Hey, Gary, I don't want to take up your whole hour here, but what is any advice or business tips for the growing markets in the U.S.? I'm guessing Texas and Florida are probably the fastest growing markets right now because they're open to business. Is that kind of what you're seeing for construction growth? Yeah.
So they're. Yeah. So Mark, when you think about this, they're mostly red states. I'm involved in the Republican Governors Association as an executive roundtable business guy, and I consult to them on what to do to grow their states, like all the other people that are involved in it. And so never have I seen a time where red states are dominating, because their goal is to bring business and bring people to their states and bring revenues to their states, right? And their goal is to drive taxes down. So they're all speaking from the same playbook, because they listen to business leaders across the country and across the globe who say, man, if you want me in your country, DeSantis, or excuse me, you want me in your state, DeSantis, you need to do this. You need to think about people like me are looking for, this, and this if they're going to come to their state. Now, it's not buying them off like Illinois, California, and New Jersey. They actually have to pay companies billions of dollars to get them to come to their state. DeSantis and Abbott in Texas and Bill Lee in Tennessee, they're not paying very seldom they're paying anybody anything unless they're creating tons of jobs. They might give them some credits. But overall, the red states are getting it. Although there's a blue state out there that's being advised by great minds that are friends of mine, and that's Colorado. This far left, socially far left governor is doing an amazing job fiscally for his state. And he's bringing jobs and business to his state. He's driving taxes down like no other Democratic governor. So again,
wow,
when you drive taxes down, you bring business to your state. You bring jobs to your state. Okay, it's the opposite effect of what people think. When Ronald Reagan lowered taxes drastically in the 80s, our tax revenues grew abundantly, even though our tax percentage was way lower. States have learned the same thing. And so, I mean, I think that's when we think about where we're going to go to states that, like I do, I focus on states that are doing good things to control regulation and not bring more regulation to their state, like Texas, like Florida, like Tennessee. North Carolina is doing a good job. There's a bunch of states that are doing a good job, but those are the ones that are ahead of the curve.
Hey, great advice for the listeners who are thinking about making some moves in real estate or something. Gary just gave you some good tips on where to move your money. But yeah, Gary, I admire your passion and your conviction and just the ability to want to, mentor and coach like what you are doing right now on the podcast, because all the listeners are, probably listening to this, probably under 30 age group. And a lot of them are probably phasing from college and trying to figure out what's real, what's not. And Gary comes, he built a $300 million asphalt company plus many conglomerate business under the Rabine Group. And he's done something. He's got credibility. We call it fruit on the tree. And that's who I want to learn from is people with fruit on the tree. And he's willing to coach you guys for an hour on this podcast on the tricks and the secrets of communism. This is communism. This is capitalism and what really works. And me, a Marine Corps veteran, I fought for my country under the Bill Clinton era. And I didn't think politically. But when you start making money and you hit a certain threshold of income, your brain kind of starts, your wallet starts talking really loud in your ear going, you hate taxes. You hate taxes. Why are you doing this? And you start having a family. Those college ideas, I don't think those theories work. And so anyway, I appreciate your willingness to spend time. Any parting words before we wrap up the podcast, Gary?
No, you know what? I would say that the biggest thing I can say is to anybody listening is, you know what, you can do amazing things if you understand that you don't have to work for somebody. If you like to work for somebody, find people that love America, that love serving. And if you love serving, right, work hard for that company and you're going to do well. That business, you're going to do well. But if you really love serving, don't be afraid to look to do it on your own. But start your own business, small business, and grow it. If you love serving and you love solving problems, your customers and your teammates will understand that you're going to lead something successful in the future. So again, I look at, some people say, to be safe, go to college, get an education, use that degree to get a job. I say to be safe, find your passion, work hard under somebody that's the best in the world in that passion to be and to be great. Also, now start your own business with however, whether you have to raise money or you have to save money. Start your own business, control your own destiny. And that's how you're safe. You're not safe working for somebody, especially if that somebody isn't a high achieving, great differentiating business. So that's kind of my 2 cents, right? To young people out there that are looking to understand what they want to do in their future.
Great advice to the audience there. And audience, thanks for tuning in to the Fearless Mindset Podcast. And please leave some remarks on the podcast platforms that we have this posted on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. And let us know what you think. And we'll probably have Gary on again. I think I'm just feeling it's going to be a crazy election cycle. And I'm sure he's got some knowledge and some probably updates he can give us on what he's got a pretty good pulse on what's going on over there. We'll probably have somebody on the other side to kind of view their viewpoints. Because I believe in freedom of speech, being a Marine Corps veteran. And I hear both sides, is the young generation, they want to hear dialogue. Even though if you don't agree with them, like there's some stuff going on in the news, I'm like, this is really happening on college campuses? I'm like, what the heck's going on? But that's another conversation. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fearless Mindset Podcast. We'll see you all soon.